I remember a time when there was a question. I saw someone's portfolio and I saw that he put mirror ceilings, and we asked, "Oh, how do you want to achieve mirror ceilings?" And he said, "Oh, the client will be changing the mirror ceilings every 3 months." Like, come on. Honestly, that happened. I know what I'm talking about. So yes, and when the person can't defend their work or their design, that's an easy way to know that this person's competence is not up to par. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Design Forward. My name is Chinedum and I'm the HR manager at 528. And with me is
Bukola. I'm the creative director at 528.
Yes, and today we're going to be talking about something very interesting when it comes to hiring. So we're talking about character versus competence. Which is better? Let's find out. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with the meaning of these words. So Bi, can you please tell us what character means to you and what competence means to you?
Okay, so I would say character, or let me start with competence. Competence, because this is work, so competence is you actually being able to do the work. That encompasses your skill, your creativity, your work experience, everything that actually relates to probably the role you're coming in for, that relates with you actually being able to do the work. But character now, at the other hand, is how you actually do the work, is the attitude you bring forward while doing the work.
Right.
So it's beyond the skill. It's now how the work is being done. So I would say that's like the difference for me. From the HR perspective, I want to ask you, what actually is competence and character in the HR world?
Okay. Well, so competence basically is, your skill, your creativity, your work experience, everything basically that you need to get the job done and get it done well. That's what competence is. Then character basically is your attitude to work, your team fit, basically, how you flow with everybody, and your day-to-day attitude generally, both in the team when it comes to work and when it comes to other activities. So that's character and that's competence.
Okay, that's interesting.
All right, so Bi, so in hiring over the years, have you ever hired someone that had strong competence but poor character? And can you tell us about it? You do not have to tell us names, but give us like an overview.
All right, I absolutely love the question. So, at the first point of hiring, the first thing you see is actually the competence.
Right.
So it's very easy to hire, and then you see the competence. Oh, wow, I love this person. I love the creativity he's bringing to the table. I love the skill he or she's bringing to the table. And then upon hiring, then you see the character. So I would say, yes, we have, or I've experienced that like 1 or 2 times, that where we actually had someone that was very skillful, knows their onion, knows everything that pertains to the job.
Yeah.
But when it comes to character, I think one thing I want to bring up here is character actually have a way to affect your company culture.
Most definitely.
So even if someone is competent and then the character is not there, it's one way or the other, it affects the whole culture of the organization.
So you wouldn't be team fit.
It wouldn't be team fit. And even if it's team fit, your character actually speaks to every other person in the line, like speaks to every other employee that you have in the office. The truth is, character actually affects not just the culture, also affects the way every other person in the organization also works. Now, so when they see someone that is competent, of course, every organization wants someone that is competent to do their job, right? And then the other team members are saying that, oh yeah, this guy is competent, but they now see a character deficiency. But if you don't actually work on that and then maybe attack that at the get-go, it's going to seep into every other person that, okay, so if this person can do this, then it means we can also do this. So
I think also it depends on the person's position. If the person is in a leadership position, say the manager or the head of a department, it's actually easy for the downlines to just tap out of that, bad character, right? And it's not even something that is premeditated. I think it's just something that you're seeing your manager doing, and obviously you're following this person, so it's only natural that it flows downwards. So you have to be very careful of character.
Very true. Yeah. So honestly, I would advise anyone employing, everyone actually have their own character, but as someone that has been in the hiring processing for a very long time, I would say the truth is you can't see character at the get-go. But when you start seeing some character that is not flowing with your company culture, you have to attack it. If you talk and then you see that, okay, there's no change, then you just know that you have to cut that branch from the root. If not, it's going to affect everything that you built.
So I think BI mentioned when she was speaking that character is not something that you see from the start.
Yeah.
So I think in some cases you might see that, but sometimes you might be ignorant of that fact. Sometimes during hiring you see certain, small things like maybe the way the person is seated, the way the person answers questions,
you might just
hand movements. You might just think, maybe it's a bad day, or maybe the person is just very confident in what he's saying. But when the person actually comes into the team, that's when you can actually now tell, oh, this actually wasn't a confidence thing, it was pride, right? And we've had some cases like that.
So would you actually choose to hire someone based on high character or strong character with average competence, or strong competence with poor character?
I think that's a very interesting question. Well, character and competence, I would say it's easy to teach someone skill and competence, right? So I think I'll basically go for the one that has stronger character and average competence, because competence can be taught. That's why we have, budget for trainings, we have onboarding sessions, inductions, and all of that, right? Because competence can go from 50 to 100, but you can't have poor competence. That's why I said average competence, right? So I think average competence and strong character definitely would work for me, because trainings can be done, and you can literally just elevate in your role by supervision, guidance, and all the necessary tools and resources that you need.
Very true. I kind of agree with you. Like you said, competence can be trained, but character has to be developed.
Definitely.
It's something you yourself as a person will really need to work on, and then no one can help you work on your character.
So I think that for character, it still can be taught, but to an extent, right? So some people do not even know they act the way they do. So when you point that out, they might. So I think it's a personal decision to actually take correction on your character, but competence, you really have no choice but to get the work done, right? But for character, it's something that can be pointed out to you. Maybe you didn't know you do this thing this way, and then it gets better over time. But so I think you can teach character, but it's harder to teach character. It's easier to teach competence.
Very true. I agree with you.
Okay, so I generally think that there should be a balance between competence and character, because both of them are very important, especially when you're hiring for senior roles and these people are going to head a lot of other people in the organization. It's important that they have both a good balance of character, meaning that they have what it takes to carry on with the company culture, and then they have competence, they have the skills, they have the creativity, they have all it takes to actually be successful in that role. But I think there are instances where you can actually excuse average competence, which are roles where there's room for learning. Things like junior roles, interns. I think that those people can be trained over time. So as long as they have good attitude to work, good character, they are willing to learn, they are proactive, they take initiative, these people can be taught, right? They can be taught the skill because they have senior staff in the company that could hold your hands and take them through how everything works. Yes. So when hiring for senior roles, executive positions, and leadership roles in general, which would you prioritize, competence or character?
So I think for leadership role, the two is very important, non-negotiable. Both competence and character. You must know your work, you must be able to do the job. And character, because now you are a leader, and then the oil flows from the top.
Right.
So you can actually destroy the culture that has been in the organization for years as a bad leader, even though you are talented, even though you have the skill. So when it comes to a leadership role, the two is non-negotiable. You have to be very competent and also have character. If it's for a very junior role, we can still, we mentioned that you can train, you can talk about character. But when it's coming to leadership, one mistake is enough to wreck the whole company.
Right.
So you can't just hire anyhow for that. You have to do. That's why you see people do background check when it comes to leadership role, beyond your CV, beyond what you've said, beyond the interview
like
itself.
Strong reference.
Yes, strong reference. They will ask people how what's your work culture like, what's your attitude like. I've actually hired before where beyond the interview process, we did also profiling on social media, because social media is now like an online portfolio, like your online CV.
Right.
So we actually went to check the person up on social media, on the Twitter, Instagram, and then some people even check your comments, like the way you comment. So I've heard a story about a lady that actually commented something nasty on someone else's post, and then the person went to check her up on LinkedIn. They saw where she was working. Then she tagged the company. She tagged the company that, is this the kind of people you are hiring? And actually she was sacked. So it's beyond just your competence when it now comes to leadership. So I must be sure you are both competent, and then your character actually flows with my company culture.
Right. So speaking about social media, I think that's even an easy way to vet your candidates, to be honest, because we've had too many instances in recent times where, you know, founders and just top executive people in companies have been, you know, sent away because of their tweets from years ago, you know, their comments on Instagram. Social media is very important. And I even think that if you're sending your candidates a form, maybe you should ask them for their Instagram handle, even though they're going to archive all the pictures when you ask for it, but, you know, still ask for their Instagram and Twitter handles.
True. I want to ask, as an HR personnel, what are the things that you will see during hiring process that would make you want to hire someone or not, based off competence and character?
Okay, so I would just tailor it down to our industry, where it's interior design, and working with a lot of interior designers and architects as well. So for competence, I think one way to actually tell that this person's competence is not up to par might be from the person's portfolio, right? Sometimes it's very tricky because people put all sorts in their portfolios, right? They get images that they used 3 weeks or 6 months. Right, or someone else's work and put in their portfolio that it's their job. Right, so sometimes they actually have weak portfolio, so that's an easy way. But if someone has a strong portfolio and can't defend it, I remember a time when there was a question. I saw someone's portfolio and I saw that he put mirror ceilings, and we asked, oh, how do you want to achieve mirror ceilings? And he said, oh, the client will be changing the mirror ceilings every 3 months. Like, come on. Honestly, that happened. I know what I'm talking about. So yes, and when the person can't defend their work or their design, that's an easy way to know that this person's competence is not up to par. And sometimes when you give, you know, case studies or assessments on the go, and you know they are shaking, or say I ask you, how long is it going to take you to design a 3-bedroom house? Someone is telling me 2 hours. Like, how is that possible? I'm not an architect, but please have mercy.
You don't know.
No, I know that. I know 3Ds.
What I'm saying is, it might be with AI. Like, they are just superhuman.
I mean, no, that's not possible. I mean, I'm asking someone from, you know, the brief to the 3D to actually like the full design document, and telling me it takes you 2 hours to do a 3-bedroom house. That's impossible. And then, okay, we are giving you a physical assessment in the office. Please design this office space, and then it's taking you like 10 hours, or like from the beginning of the interview, the beginning of the, you know, start of business till the end of the day, and you're still not done, or you still haven't finished the sketch or even the layout. So that just tells me that this is not corresponding with what this person is trying to show me. So that's in terms of competence. So for character, I think it's quite easy to tell when it comes to character sometimes, although people can pretend, but they can't pretend for so long, right? For interviews, especially people that are really experienced, this is something I've noticed. You're coming into the interview and you're seated like it's your parlor, like you're seated and opening your legs, right? Or you're just...
You told them to feel free.
Oh my goodness. Or then you're responding to me with 1-word answers. Like, I'm asking you a serious question and you're like, 1-word answer. Like, in other words, can't you see it in my CV? Things like that. I could easily tell, you know, when somebody's character is just not something that will fit with the entire team dynamics.
True. Love that.
Okay, so how about you, BI? What would you prioritize, or what would you advise other companies to prioritize when hiring?
So I think I totally agree with what you said also, and that's balance. Right. There are roles that we can still negotiate the character or even the competence, but even for a junior role, I would prefer someone with average competence and strong character. Right. Because, like we mentioned at the beginning, it can grow. Competence can grow with trainings, with, you know, exposure. All those can grow, but you have strong character for a junior role. But for a senior role, you have to both competence and character has to be very strong. Like strong competence, strong character. non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I think it's important to prioritize both competence and character in order to, drive business growth and continue company culture.
Very true.
Thank you so much for sticking till the end of this episode, and we'll see you in the next episode of Design Forward. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yes, comment, please. And you can also ask us any questions pertaining to hiring or anything that, we didn't touch on this episode, and we'll definitely respond to you. We can even make another video for you, our VIPs. Thank you so much for watching.